Before we say anything of importance, let us acknowledge what this hour is and what it is not. It is not a new class, not a fresh technique, not an improvement on yesterday. This is a branch of the same life that has been speaking since before our lips learned words. We step into a stream already flowing. We do not start it, we do not end it, we enter. Now be very still. Put off the shoes of your thought from off your mind, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground, not will be, already is. The holiness is not in a building, not in a book, not in a person. The holiness is presence. In him we live and move and have our being. This is our housekeeping. Say with me, not as a formula, but as a recognition. God is one. Then stop. Let it fall into the silence. Be still and know that I am God. No embroidery, no flourish, no attempt to help God be God. God is, the Lord is. That's all. You have an advantage and a disadvantage in being here. Your disadvantage, you carry the habit of trying to fix forms, of arranging appearances, of thinking you must do something to make harmony appear. You have been trained to diagnose, to plan, to push. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy. I can of my own self do nothing. That is the doorway. Your advantage. You carry within you a capacity that needs no training at all, the capacity to be silent. Even a child knows how to hush when a presence enters the room. Let that child be in you now. We are not many minds trying to agree. We are not assembling opinions. Where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. Not because we make it so, but because we cease resisting what is so. United consciousness is not the fusion of persons. It is the recognition of one presence, one life, one I. As we rest together in this, awareness magnifies without effort. Grace is the multiplier. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Don't go on with vain repetitions. Stop. Treat God as omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence, one. God is one. God is. In this stillness we are already where we imagine we must travel. In this quiet we are already on holy ground. And from here, everything else in this hour will not be added to us. It will be revealed from within us. Now listen, without reaching. You never had a problem. There, let it sting. Don't defend. Don't run to your favorite scripture to argue for or against. Stop. Let the words fall into the same stillness into which we placed God is one. If there is one presence, one power, whence cometh a second? From where does it borrow its breath? Did it slip in through a back door God forgot to lock? I am the Lord, and there is none else. If there is none else, what is this thing you have named problem? I am not accusing you. I am calling you to your own light. We have all bowed to appearances and granted them power. We have feared them, fed them, and prayed to a distant deity to manage them. We have said with our lips, God is one, and with our hearts we have kept a small shrine to another power, a pain, a lack, a person, a condition. Who by taking thought can add 1 cubit to his stature? Not one. And who by taking thought can subtract a single shadow by wrestling it? Not one. Stop. Before talk, before remedy, before prayer is pleading, stop. A problem, so-called, is a belief in a second cause. It is not a thing. It is a granting of power where there is none. You cannot see this with eyes, not truly. You cannot hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it into conformity. The mind wants to fix forms. The spirit simply is. Be still and know that I am God. Not be busy and know. Not argue and know. Be still. The stillness unmasks the impostor. As fog cannot stand before the sun, so belief cannot endure before realized presence. If only presence is power, what was the problem? Answer me not with history or diagnosis. Do not rehearse the tale of years. Do not number the steps of specialists. In the kingdom, numbers do not confer reality. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. If the shepherd is, what want can boast authority? If the vine is your life, what branch can wither by decree of weather? If the Father within doeth the works, what work remains for fear to accomplish? Let the question stand in your midst like a pillar of cloud. If only presence is power, what was the problem? I knew a woman, let us call her Mara, who carried a leather folder bulging with bills and letters and dates circled in red. She said, "Here is my problem." I said, "Hold it. Feel the weight. Now set it at your feet. Do not solve it. Do not read it. Close your eyes. There is God." She bristled. She wanted instructions, budgets, phone calls. I said, "No, stop." In the hush that followed, there was a soft weeping, then no weeping at all. The folder did not burn. The ink did not vanish. But something did stop, the belief that the ink had power. In that moment, the only power in the room was presence. Later, forms rearranged themselves as forms do. But the rearrangement was not the healing. The healing was the recognition that there was never a second power to contend with. You feel the mind leaning forward to protest. But what of danger? What of sickness? What of injustice? We will not chase those phantoms just now. Let their bristling do its purifying work. Resist not evil. Do not grant it the dignity of resistance. Fear not. It is I. Be not afraid. If it is, what else is there to fear? If the Holy One fills heaven and earth, where shall a rival stand to contest the field? So, beloved, when you hear within yourself the footfall of the old habit, "I have a problem," answer it with silence. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Do not rush to fix, to plead, to promise God your vows. God is. That is the end of argument and the beginning of vision. In that wordless seeing, the premise of two dissolves, and with it the story it sustained. We will not embellish it. We will not negotiate. We will simply remain where we began, on holy ground, and allow the one to be one. Let us look carefully, not accusatorily, at the machinery by which a problem gets manufactured. First, there is the letter, the words, the ideas, the affirmations, the well-intentioned strategies of mind. The letter catalogs appearances and rearranges them. It files them under causes and effects, under people and conditions, under time and prognosis. Then, still within the letter, we bring in religious words as counters on the same board. We affirm, we declare, we argue with the facts, and so we create a contest. You see, we have quietly assumed two powers and set them to wrestling appearance on one side, a truth statement on the other. The result is fatigue, not freedom. I will be plain with you because I love you. As long as you believe there is power in a good thought, you are far from the kingdom of heaven. Thought is not power, good thought, no more than bad thought. It is the spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. The mind belongs to the realm of forms. It can polish forms, arrange forms, but it cannot transmute a lie into truth or darkness into light. Light alone does that by being what it is. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Darkness does not fight light. It does not surrender to light. It is a name for the absence of light. So too with what some have called mortal mind. There is no such entity as a second mind creating evil. Mortal mind is a term for nothing, a way of speaking about a vacuum where realization is not consciously present. Do not dignify it with resistance. Resist not evil. Let the sun be the sun, and the shadow is nothing to dispute. The letter of truth has its holy place. Never despise it. The letter points like a finger pointing to the moon. It tells you God is one. It whispers, acquaint now thyself with him and be at peace. It reminds you, my thoughts are not your thoughts, but hear me. The finger is not the moon. The map is not the country. The menu is not the meal. The letter prepares the mind to be quiet. The spirit is the realized presence that is God. Only spirit heals. Only spirit dissolves the premise on which the seeming problem stands. You protest, but when I affirm God is supply, I sometimes feel relief. Yes, because you momentarily relax the clutching habit of fear, but the relief came not from syllables, it came from a brief thinning of thought. You stopped arguing long enough for grace to glimmer. If you now attribute that glimmer to the sentence, you will repeat the sentence louder, longer, and miss the grace entirely. Don't go on with vain repetitions. Stop. Stop. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must, and turn from the board of counters to the living presence within. Be still and know that I am God. Let me tell you quietly of a student who labored under the weight of lack. He could discourse beautifully on supply, quote Psalms, recite promises. He called me and began to marshal verses like soldiers. I said, friend, let the soldiers stand down. We sat in shared silence. No plan, no word, only a yielded attention. In that stillness, the sense of an opposing power ebbed. The figure on a ledger had not changed, yet what had made it a tyrant was gone. When he rose, he did not feel triumphant. He felt normal, as if a noise in the next room had ceased. Forms later shifted, yes, but that was not the doing. The doing was the undoing of belief by realized presence. So here is our framework, and it will serve you every hour of the day. Use the letter as a doorway. Read a line, God is. Whisper a promise, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Then drop even that holy letter and enter the room to which it points. Be still. Receive. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Let the letter usher you to silence, and in the silence let grace be grace. Study may point, but only realize presence ends the seeming problem. God is power. Therefore, there is only one power. Say it once, not to convince a mind, but to acknowledge a fact, then be still. If there is one power, there cannot be two, there cannot be many. There cannot be a little power called fear running about in the basement, another called disease skulking in the body, another called lack scribbling on ledgers. I am the Lord, and there is none else. None else means none else. The mind will bargain for an exception. It will plead for a special case. Stop. Stop. Let the absoluteness of one stand in your midst and do its dissolving work. You cannot see. It with eyes you cannot hear. It with ears you cannot taste. It touch, it smell, it or think it, and yet it is the only is. Do not stumble, because your senses do not report it. The senses do not report love either, and yet love moves the world. The senses do not report the life that animates your very breath, and yet here you are. Presence is not a product for the five senses to sample. It is the ground in which the senses float like leaves upon a sea. In him we live and move and have our being. When you rest from trying to grasp it as an object among objects, you discover it as the very I that is aware, who by taking thought can add a cubit to his stature, who by taking thought can reverse a hair's color or make harmony appear, who by anxiety can extend a life by a day, or by dread avert a shadow. No one. The Master did not flay you with these questions. He freed you with them. He cut the cords that bind you to the idol of mental causation. Thought is not power good thought, no more than bad thought. It is the spirit that quickeneth. When you set thought to wrestling with appearances, you have quietly admitted two powers and sent them into the ring. The one power does not enter contests. It is. Now hear the practical heart of this. If one is all, fear has no law to authorize it. It has mood, it has noise, it has memory, but no law. If one is all, disease may display pictures and sensations, but it has no law to maintain itself, no principle to perpetuate it. If one is all, lack may speak in figures and due dates, but it has no law to compel your worship. If one is all, conflict may parade as clashing wills, but it has no law to divide what God has joined as one life. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty is not produced by argument. It is revealed when false authority is withdrawn. As long as you believe there is a power in fear, you honor it with attention, and attention is the incense of idols. As long as you believe there is a power in germs or genes or markets or moods, you will devise counterpowers, diets, and mantras and negotiations, and the very devising will testify that you have not yet bowed to. 1. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. Not to make a demonstration, not to force a change of scene, but to let the axiom of reality register. God is power. Therefore, there is only one power. In that recognition, the premise under every so-called problem ceases to be fed. You will notice, and this is important, that forms may not leap like acrobats at your command. They are reeds. They bend when wind passes. Let the wind of spirit pass, and reeds bend, but your peace will not wait upon the reed. Peace is not a form. Peace is presence realized. The law of the Spirit of life hath made me free. Free from what? From belief in other law, from the habit of bowing to a second cause. So when the next report arrives, body, bank, family, nation, treat it not as a rival sovereignty. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Turn within and agree with God. God is. God is power. Therefore, there is only one power. Remain there until the heat of fear finds no altar in you. In that wordless acquiescence, the many melt back into the one. And the one being what? It reveals itself as the only fact present. That is the end of a second cause. That is the end of problem. Now we come to the tender nerve, prayer. If there is one presence, then prayer cannot be the art of informing omniscience or persuading omnipotence. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask. The asking here is not a speech, it is a yielding. When ye pray, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, not to rehearse a case before a reluctant judge, but to rest from the belief that there is a second power to be argued down. The closet is silence. The shutting of the door is the refusal to admit appearances to the throne room of your attention. The prayer is not telling, the prayer is receiving. Let us be plain. Let your tongue fall out before you talk to God. Hold those teeth together. Don't go on with vain repetitions. Stop. Stop. Use not vain repetitions as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. You are not heard for syllables. You are heard in stillness. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Let all the earth of concepts, of histories, of diagnoses be silent. Say once, God is, and then be still and know. Not be still and think, not be still and plan, be still and know. What then is true prayer. True prayer puts you on the receiving end of God. It is the inner consent to what already is. It is not request, not persuasion, not management of appearances, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Might and power belong to the realm of form and effort. Spirit belongs to the realm of is. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. To pray is to withdraw the personal doer from the stage and let the presence be present. You do not invite the sun, you lift the shade. You do not pump grace, you stop gripping the valve. Do not confuse quiet with passivity. Quiet is activity of a different order. It is receptivity to life. Listen to the Master's counsel. Take no thought for your life. Consider the lilies. He did not bid you neglect. He bid you cease managing as if outcomes were your private manufacture. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, not the kingdom's gifts, and all these things shall be added. Added by whom? By grace. Harmony is not a prize for effort. It is a byproduct of realized presence. When resistance rests self-will, opinion, the itch to fix grace appears as harmony, not produced, revealed. The light was always the light. The blindfold was the only darkness. Now, how do you pray? Sit down or stand up, it matters not. Enter the inner room and close the door of argument. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Whisper within, God is once. Not as magic, not as mantra manufacture, but as recognition. Then wait. Be still and know that I am God. Wait without timing God. Wait without searching for signs. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, yet you can know it by its own self-revelation. The knowing will feel like ease without object, peace without reason, a soft evaporation of edges. Do nothing to help it. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy. Then you can say, but God's thoughts are not my thoughts. If a thought of the appearance intrudes, body, bank, family, world, do not wrestle. Do not decorate it with prayer words. Let it pass as wind passes through reeds. Return without reproach to the two-word treatment, God is. That is all. In that acknowledgement, you have withdrawn the incense of attention from idols and placed the throne where it belongs. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. See not with eyes, but with awareness. Salvation is not a repaired picture. It is the unveiled isness of God, right where the picture seemed to boast its authority. This is the reorientation from telling to receiving, from managing to yielding, from might to grace. As you practice even for a minute here, a minute there, you will discover that prayer is not something you do. It is what remains when doing ceases. It is the river that was always moving beneath the ice of intention. And when the ice thins, you do not congratulate the river. You rest at its bank and you are watered. Let us do it now, so you will never again imagine this to be theory. A listener comes and says, I have a pressing problem. We will not name it. We will not hold it up to the light to see its texture. Names and textures are how idols request devotion. The form is irrelevant. Presence is all. First 15 seconds. Stop. No history. No diagnosis. No explanation. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. I lift a hand not to bless a case, but to cancel conversation, and we consent to silence. We refuse the premise that a second power needs an audience. Be still and know that I am God. Not be thorough, not be correct. Be still. Now, the next 30 seconds, we admit inadequacy, ours, not God. Quietly within, not to impress a neighbor. I say, I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Again, not as many words, but as surrender. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit. Let the personal doer sit down. Let the healer idea resign. No techniques, no reaching, no imagination. Let me turn this over to the Father. Let me feel thy presence. You can't see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, but it can announce itself as rest. We do not hold our breath for results. We release our grip on outcomes. The inward posture is this: I am not running a shop. I am not fixing forms. I am yielding. Now the next 30 seconds, oneness. Let it be realized, not argued. God and the practitioner and the patient are all one, that they all may be one. As thou, Father, art in me and I in thee. Where two or more are gathered in my name, I am not coming, not on the way, I am in the midst. In this gathered hush, there is no transaction to complete, no current to push, no thought to send across town, no energy to muster, no light to imagine. The one is being the one. The belief in a sender, a receiver, and a distant God dissolves as morning mist before the hillside sun. There is only I, only presence aware of itself as the life appearing here, the life appearing there, the life that is life. Now the last 15 seconds, God is. Say it once within, then drop the words and let the fact fill awareness. I am the Lord, and there is none else. No opposing law is recognized. None. Not in flesh, not in fear, not in debt, not in dates circled red. Peace. Be still. We are not looking at waves. We are recognizing the sea. Not thinking about God, knowing God by God's knowing of itself. The incense is withdrawn from idols. Their altars stand cold. Their priests go silent. Presence alone is power. We do not open our eyes to check a limb or a ledger. We do not ask, how do you feel now? We do not prod grace to perform for our curiosity. We let the silence have the last word. A moment longer only to deny the mind its habit of reclaiming the room. Then, very softly, there. Not triumph, not drama, normalcy. The sense of pressing problem has no life where the premise of a second power is absent. The folder, so to speak, lies where it lay, but it no longer commands a knee to bend. If forms adjust later, and they usually do, it will be by grace, not by our meddling. That is not our business. Our business is oneness. Do you feel what happened? In shared stillness, the belief dropped, not defeated, and with it the sense of problem evaporated like fog that discovers it was never substance. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. See not with eyes, but with awareness that will not share its throne. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. We move on now without checking the weather of appearances, anchored in the simple, unarguable sufficiency. God is. Do you see now why there was no one in this room to do the work? No person healed, no personal virtue, accomplished grace. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy. This is not humiliation. It is the hallway into holiness. As long as you believe that your sincerity, your years of study, your technique, or your moral record can produce harmony, you have assigned power to the creature instead of the Creator. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Not by the might of will, not by the power of polished prayer, by Spirit. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Stop. Stop. Withdraw the healer you imagine yourself to be. Lay down the craftsman of outcomes. Say, not as recital, but as abdication. Father, reveal thyself. Let me feel thy presence. If words rise, let them be few. Into thy hands I commend my spirit. You are not inviting a distant God. You are consenting to the one already here to be known as itself. In that yielding, the sense of a private operator quietly steps off the stage, and the curtain lifts on what was never absent. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Do not seize the reins again when a picture moves or refuses to move. Release outcomes. We do not measure God by forms. We abide in presence and let forms bear witness as they may. Abide in me and I in you. Seek first the kingdom, not the kingdom's evidences, and all these things shall be added. Added by whom? By grace. These signs shall follow. We do not follow signs. We are followed by them when attention remains on isness, not on inventory. You will notice the feel of this surrender. It is not a collapse. It is a composure without origin in circumstance. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, not as improved conditions, not as successful management, but as presence recognized. The wholeness you sought is not manufactured. It is felt when the personal doer is gone from the helm. Then the Father within doeth the works without strain, without ceremony, without your help. Return to it every hour if necessary with the two-word treatment. God is. Stay until the itch to manage dissolves like mist. In that stillness, the already whole announces itself, and there is nothing left to add. Now the mind will rise to its feet, earnest and indignant. Yes, but what about the bills due Friday? What about the diagnosis with its Latin name and solemn faces? What about the conflict in my house? What about war rumbling on the earth? Beloved, we will not swat at shadows. We will ask one question, and we will ask it until the room is clear. If God is one, what law empowers the fear you feel? Name the law or let it vanish. Do not hurry to decorate the fear with details. Stop. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. In the silence, bring the objection into the light of one. If there is one presence and one power, whence cometh this other? Has it a law behind it? Has it a principle to sustain it? Has it authority from God? Or does it borrow its bluster from your attention? Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. If liberty is the nature of spirit, what statute has been passed that can chain the free? Produce the statute. You cannot. It lives only as suggestion. Withdraw belief, and it has no court to try its case. But the bill is real. The date is printed. The ink may be real to sight. The due date may tick across the clock. We do not deny the picture. We deny its authority to claim a second cause. Take no thought for your life. That is not neglect. It is release from mental manufacture. Thought is not power. Good thought no more than bad thought. As long as you believe there is power in a good thought about money, you are far from the kingdom of heaven. The Spirit is power. When attention rests in presence, forms arrange themselves by grace, not as prize, but as witness. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added. Added by whom? By what law? By the law of spirit that knows only its own fullness. But the diagnosis is specific. The scans show pictures. Pictures do not confer law. Fear does not confer law. If God is one, what second life animates a contrary report? What second mind thinks it, sustains it, enforces it? Name it. You cannot accept as a phrase. It is the Spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. The flesh pictures, measures time, has no power to oppose the life that is life. In presence realized, the premise of arrival vitality is withdrawn, and with it the tyranny of appearances. You cannot see this. Presence, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it. And yet, when you are still, you know. Be still and know that I am God. But the conflict is personal. That neighbor, that partner, that leader, surely they have power to disturb. Which law empowers disturbance to dethrone peace? If peace is my peace, I give unto you, not as the world giveth, who installed another magistrate. If one is the life of all, where does a second life arise to make enemies? In belief alone. Withdraw the incense of attention from personalities, and behold one life appearing as many. Where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. In that midst, division has no principle to stand upon. You need not make yourself agree. You need only withhold your agreement from a second cause. But war, what of that? We do not lend our fear to altars of violence. We do not enthrone collective hatred as a god with statutes. If there is one, there is not a second power called history or geopolitics, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. In united stillness, the belief in opposing powers loses oxygen. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from fear's hypnosis. Liberty from the compulsion to fix the world by will. And as liberty is known within, its radiance appears as harmonies beyond calculation. These signs follow. We do not follow signs. Here is the reversal that saves you hours of struggle. Trying to strengthen faith in thought is the detour. Dropping faith in thought is the way. Take no thought. Do not varnish the objection. Do not out-argue it. Do not paste scripture over it as a label. Stop. Stand still. Say, once God is. Then be quiet until the felt need to manage subsides. Ask gently, if God is one, what law empowers this fear? If you can name none, be done. In that being done, objections fall of themselves, for their premise belief in other power has been withdrawn. Where the one is recognized as one, there is no second left to argue with. And there, beloved, you are free. There is a law of community in spirit, but it is not the law of crowds. It is not mass suggestion, not a louder choir of thought, not many minds piling up syllables to tip a scale. Where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst. My name is not a word you say. My name is being, isness, presence. Gathered in that, there is only one, not a circle of persons increasing wattage, but the one recognized as all, then the midst, not the mouths, does the work. If there be 10 righteous, said the ancient witness, the whole city shall be spared. Do you think those 10 were running around pleading with God? No, they were abiding. Righteousness is not moral bookkeeping. Righteousness is rightness with reality. It is oneness realized. A few resting in the one are 11, not to force, not to fix, but to let grace rise in ways unseen. One shall chase 1,000, and two put 10,000 to flight, not because two opinions are stronger than one, but because in united stillness the very premise of opposition finds no agreement and so has no ground to stand upon. This is not sending thoughts across town. This is not visualizing outcomes for others. Stop, stop. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Sit with a friend, or 3, or 10, and say, once within God is, then be still, no more. Do not name a case. Do not stroke an image. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy and let the Father within do the works. 15 seconds will do. A minute will do. Twice a day will do. In a home, in an office before the day's commerce, in a school before the bell, close the door of words and open the door of presence. You will notice something you cannot measure. A softening in the air, a lightness without cause, a composure that does not ask permission from circumstances. Do not look around to find the proof. Do not assign credit. Let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. When the center is God, the circumference is harmony, appearing where it will, when it will, as it will. A neighbor reconciles without your counsel. A ledger balances without your ingenuity. A ward grows quieter. A street feels safer. These signs follow. We do not follow signs. We do not organize grace. We get out of the way. Join stillness is not a strategy. It is the recognition of what is together. And in that togetherness, the sense of many fades into the I that is one, that they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee. Here is our simple practice. Gather for brief periods, no announcements, no pious faces, no petitions, only the two-word treatment offered once, and then silence. God is. Leave it there. In that leaving, the midst becomes the message, and harmony radiates without effort, unplanned, untracked, unclaimed. Now we bring it home, not to an occasion, not to a room, not to a meeting, but to the hours. Give us this day our daily bread. Daily. Morning, before the feet, remember their errands, pause. Midday, when the world is loud with its schedules, pause. Evening, when the day boasts of its totals, pause. 10 seconds will do, 30 seconds will do. Whisper once within, God is, then be still. Not a program, not a marathon, bread daily. You do not store bread for a year. You receive it fresh. So with presence, do not turn this into a ceremony. Do not imagine that length is virtue. When ye pray, use not vain repetitions. Stop, stop. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Say at once God is, and refuse the bargain that tries to hitch a result to those two words. Not God is, so that the meeting goes well. Not God is, so that the numbers turn. Not God is, so that the symptom quits. That is outcome bargaining. That is putting a leash on God and calling it faith. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, not the kingdom's proofs. And all these things shall be added. Added by whom? By grace. Let this be simple and bare. Practice a holy poverty of sense. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it. Good. Rest exactly there, where the senses cannot reach and thought cannot manufacture. Enter thy closet and shut the door, not upon a world you fear, but upon the craving to fix it. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and monitor, not be still and measure. Know by the knowing that comes of itself when your instruments are quieted. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, morning, midday, evening. If you forget, begin again. If you remember, do not stretch it to prove devotion. Bread daily. And record nothing. Let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. Keep no tally of demonstrations. Keep no ledger of answered prayers. The moment you count, you claim. The moment you claim, you reintroduce a second power that congratulates itself for results. Our Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly, not as wages, but as the openness of what is, shining through unguarded places. These signs shall follow. We do not follow signs. We do not frame them. We do not frame them on a wall. Let grace be anonymous. Let God be God. This is how the letter ripens to spirit, not by more words, not by better arguments, but by faithful returns to the same door until the door is no longer a door, but your way of being. Pray without ceasing does not mean speak without stopping. It means live with these pauses frequent enough that the pause extends into the whole day. You will find that after a while the 10 seconds lengthen themselves, not in clock time, but in texture, until the work you do, the meals you prepare, the calls you answer, occur within an ease you did not put there. Abide in me and I in you. Abide is not event, it is residence. So take this into your morning. Before you speak to a person, speak not at all within. Say once, God is. At midday, close the office door if you can, or close the inner door if you cannot, and say once, God is. In the evening, before you count the day, refuse to count. Say once, God is, then silence. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy. No technique here, no power in thought here, and let the Father within do the work. Day by day, unnoticed by the world and unpraised by the self, consciousness ripens, the letter thaws, the river of spirit is felt, and in that felt isness the hours become holy ground. God is. That's all. Now we come to the part the mind always wants to rush to: results. Stop, do not chase effects. Let effects chase oneness. The Master said, these signs shall follow. Follow what? Not your plans, not your prayers spoken at the ceiling, not your anxious affirmations. Follow the realized presence. And the psalmist gave you the same witness in another tongue. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Follow me, not hunted by effort, not bribed by rituals. Follow as a shadow follows the body that casts it. When presence is primary, harmony appears as a byproduct, not a prize. Grace is the doer. Grace is the arranger. Grace is the quiet river that makes the valley green without announcement. What does this look like? Do not expect fireworks. Expect normalcy that feels holy. Where there was strain, an ease appears that you cannot trace to a new technique. Where there was confusion, a clarity dawns that did not come from a whiteboard. Where you felt pressed, space opens between the ticks of the clock. A meeting that lived on argument resolves itself without a victor. A call you feared becomes simple, almost kind. A symptom goes on, forgetting to return because you stopped rehearsing its calendar. A ledger tight as a fist loosens, not because you pushed numbers around, but because attention ceased bowing to numbers as law. No campaign, no strategy, presence recognized, and forms revealing that recognition like leaves revealing sap. Notice the identity shift. Yesterday you were a needy fixer, heavy with outcomes, busy with levers, bargaining with heaven. Today you find yourself an instrument of presence, not special, not titled, just available. The ear that listens before it speaks, the hand that moves without the itch to manage, the heart that looks at a face and does not count its threats, from problem-centered to present-centered, from how shall I get to the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, not future tense. Not one day I shall not want. I shall not want now, because isness is my life, my law, my sufficiency. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, he restoreth my soul. Where are the green pastures? Right where worry sat. Where is the restoration? Right where the fixer used to pace. If you feel the old impulse to check the field for results, to sniff the air for proof, to gather testimonies like trophies, stop. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Do not call the sheep. Let the shepherd be the shepherd. Signs that follow are not your pets. They are grace on the move. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. As long as you believe there is power in your thought to produce a sign, you are far from the kingdom. Release the cause and effect you learned in the market. In the kingdom, cause is one, and all effects are the one showing its face in 1,000 ordinary ways. And yet, do not romanticize grace. It often wears work clothes. You will still write the email, cook the meal, balance the books, mend the fence, but you will notice that something invisible does the heavy lifting. The yoke is easy, the burden light, not because tasks disappeared, but because the belief in a second power that made them hard dissolved. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. This peace does not wait for victory. It is victory without an opponent. So walk on, beloved, with the two-word treatment in your pocket and the shepherd in your breath. God is. That is your only preparation, your only provision. Do not hunt goodness, let it follow. Do not make mercy, let it follow. Do not plan harmonies, let them follow. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. We place presence first, and presence places all things in order, quietly, anonymously, on time, without a clock. And as you go, do not turn to salute the parade of effects. Keep your face toward the one. The rest will come up behind you like morning. From the first word we stood on holy ground, not by coming to it, but by noticing it. God is. We dared a sentence that offended the busy mind. You never had a problem, and then we watched why. A problem is a belief in a second power, and in one presence, what second is there to oppose? We traced how the letter points but cannot perform, how study prepares but only realize presence ends the seeming issue. We let the personal doer retire. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. And prayer ceased to be management and became receptivity. We were still together and witnessed the premise of a second cause dissolve without a fight. And we learned the daily way of it in brief returns. The two-word treatment, signs that follow without being chased. Hold this as identity, not as method. As long as God is, I am. The kingdom of God is within you, not a place to travel, a nature to be uncovered. I and my Father are one. I am the Lord, and there is none else. Therefore, there is no second power to counsel you, no rival will to harass you, no separate self to improve itself by effort. Thought is not power. Technique is not power. Grace alone is power. And grace is not a transaction. It is presence revealing itself when we stop trying to instruct it. Where the one is recognized as one, no problem can live because it has no law to breathe, no statute to defend it, no mind to think it. So before any next word, be still. Stop, stop. Let your tongue rest. Hold those teeth together if you must. Say once within, God is, and drop the words. Be still, and know that I am God. Let the Father within do the works. Take no thought for success, for relief, for proofs, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit. Let the grace of God appear as it will, where it will, when it will. Carry the stillness like climate as you rise, as you walk, as you write the email and mend the fence. Return briefly and often until returning is residence. As long as God is, I am. And in that I am, fear cannot hold court. We go out now not as fixers, but as awareness of one presence, quiet, unanxious, without a second to oppose. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Keep no ledger. Seek no sign. Let goodness and mercy follow as they please. If a storm should speak, answer it only with peace, be still, and let the hush be the proof. Do not turn and salute the parade of effects. Keep your face toward the holy. Now, let us leave as we live, from silence, so that the truth we have heard may continue to speak without words.